It's so fascinating. And again, I know like it's much like the question of, why are we here? How do we get here? There's so much of the mind we don't understand. So we're obviously trying to piece together the best we can. And I'm sure 20, 30, 100 years from now, we'll know even more. And we'll be like, oh, that's what this was, or that's what this was. But irregardless, like the things you're talking about to me are so fascinating, partially because they're just interesting, partially, which I think excites you about it, is how functional it is. Like if you can understand this and put it to good use, it's like you said, it's leveling up in a video game. So I just think it's super, super interesting. Um, Another question though, is we're thinking about it, because one of the things that goes through my mind, ironically, is everything we're talking about right now is running through that filter, I think, of our minds, because that's how we interact with the world. That's how we interface. That's how I speak to you. That's how I consume the words you're telling me. And the way in which my mind then tries to make decisions of how I want to start to take action and do things, even the ideas that you're generating are coming from our mind. I think maybe that super consciousness is the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Like, do you ever worry that we could never actually figure it all out because we're in it? Like we can't. You almost have to step outside of it and not have the lens of our mind processing all this information to actually get to the answer of how you fix it. It's a really kind of convoluted meta question, but like, are we too close to it, or anything we think is a process is a product of that? So how do you actually get away from it if that's everything that you have? Is it back to that hypnosis? Is that the way? Because that actually detaches you.
Look, it's probably a little bit deeper understanding of that. The thinking is very limited. Okay, so
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to, and you've asked the question, how do we figure it out? Like, what are we trying to figure
Figure
out?
what out, right?
Exactly.
Well, so let's go down that thread. So we're trying to figure out, I think, how to tap into our authentic energy of who we are, and not allow the subconscious coding and the infrastructure or structure of our mind to inhibit that. We want to use our mind and the computer program that it is, conscious and subconscious, to work for us, not against us. So we want to tap into that authentic version of ourselves that allows us to use it, recode it, to use it for the right reasons. So if that's I think the answer to what we're trying to figure out. So the question is, can we ever do that if the only tools we have to reprogram the mind are the mind? Like it's almost incestuous as you think about it.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because once you actually figure out what masks the subconscious has put on you, okay, you can actually strip that. I'll look at it, I say, the post-it notes, is that what you call them
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, you've got all these labels on yourself. Okay, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, and this is just, it's been collected over the years. Now, once you go through this process, you actually go, okay, I'm going to take it all out. Who am I now? Okay, and who would I like to be? Who would, who's like, what does it, like, you actually get into this knowing,
Mm.
not necessarily thinking, but just knowing. I sometimes, I don't want to confuse it with too many metaphors, but
Yeah,
one of the metaphors that I love using is, your mind is a little bit like an accountant,
yeah.
okay, that sort of goes and checks all the past experiences and gives you advice. Then you've got these, your body reacts, okay, because every thought, you get, you're thinking, and then you've got feeling on the other side, right? It's like a two-sided coin. So you've got your body that sort of reacts to it, okay, because it's biological chemistry that gets dispersed. So you've got the accountant. I call the body like a drama queen because it just reacts constantly.
Yeah.
But then you've got this Yoda inside you, okay, that's just like knowing. But it doesn't talk a lot because these two, the other two, are just constantly going and going and going, okay. And it's like, one of the meditations that I teach people to do is to actually send those two for a walk
Mm.
and really listen to that smart Yoda. That's like really knowing. It's not like when you answer, it's like when you ask yourself a question and the answer is I think. That's your mind talking. Okay, I feel is your body talking. Okay, but when you actually get to the point where it's like I know.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
there's just no questions. Like I know that this is what I like. And when it comes to the soulful, we sort of design the soulful goals, which is what it is that his soul truly craves. It's so much more basic than our mind creates it to be. Like you think you're going to create this huge business, you think you're going to do this, you think you're going to do that, But deep down inside, the five things that the soul truly craves is one is absolute self-love
Mm.
and just really acceptance and being able to just have a healthy body, healthy mind, and just healthy environment. That's number one. Number two, connection with humans.
Mm.
I call it tribe and adventure. Creating the tribe and just being able to connect really well with other human beings, communicate really well. Wealth and contribution. So it wants you to be abundant and experience the abundance, but also do it in a way that actually helps others as well. So that's where the contribution comes in. Another one is intimacy and ecstasy, like really experiencing, the love life, like to
Mhm.
the nth degree, and play and growth. Just, really being able to just be creative, learning new things, but implementing them as well
Mm.
without any restrictions. Five soulful goals. That's all you need.
That's good. It's good. All right. Last probing question, and hopefully you understand the spirit of the show. Like it's funny. I say this to people sometime, and maybe I don't need to say it anymore, but typically the more I probe, it's the more interesting I find the topic. And I'm like, this is so interesting. I need to look at this from all angles. So last one in that vein, I think, and then I'll ask maybe a philosophical question to wrap us. The probing question. For a lot of people, I can imagine them, and let me just speak for me, it could be difficult to delineate between that internal Yoda, right? That soulful knowing and our subconscious mind, right? Because in some ways there's a danger in that. That if you kind of just if you try and search for that like deep inner truth in you and your mind produces an answer, because that's the way we process it, right? It's through our mind. How do I know that's not my subconscious just spitting something out to me that I assume now, oh, that's me, that's the truth, versus it's actually a mask, it's the coding that the subconscious put forth? I have a hunch on what you're going to say, but let me let you answer it first because I think it's going to segue into the philosophical question. But is there any risk of that? Is there any risk of misattributing something that's our soul's answer versus our subconscious's answer?